Welcome to another edition of Refreshing Thoughts. I am Chris Fresh, and thank you for coming and checking out the show. And also, thank you to the awesome Shine Worldwide that provides the kick-ass rock theme. Heads are going to roll by the Shine. Thanks to Julian James, Benny Mino, and PG3, and whoever else works on that song. I don't know, there's a cast of thousands. But I am excited. I am here to talk Superman. But first, I want to give a shout out to everybody that has supported the show and Geek Dudes and Hey Hey It's the Podcast on Patreon for $5 a month Australian, which is like $1 American or something, apparently. You can go to patreon.com/C/refreshing thoughts podcast /membership and support the show. Just helps pay the bills, keeps the lights on, and I'm thankful to everybody that has subscribed so far. And you could help us out by subscribing to that and sharing the channel and the episodes on social media. Really gets the word out there, and clicking like and subscribe. But I don't want to waste your time with all this preamble. We're here to talk Superman. Now, I'm going to preface this by saying I'm going to talk spoilers. So if you have not seen Superman, pause this, keep it in the chamber, listen to it after you have seen it, because I do not want to ruin your experience of seeing this movie. A lot of you will have gone and seen it because we're all nerds. That's what's brought us together. And I certainly went day one. I know a lot of people have seen day one. Certain countries and time zones and everything, it's slowly rolling out. I do not want to ruin this movie for anybody. So please stop now if you haven't seen Superman. If you don't care and maybe you need some words of encouragement and you're not bothered by spoilers, then, go ahead and listen. But if you want to do what I want to do, and that's debrief, that's what we're here to do. Heading in to this movie, there was a bit of trepidation. So I have always liked Superman. For me, I know obviously I grew up on the Christopher Reeve Superman, as a lot of people did. But for me, in comic book form, it was being a 14-year-old and hearing about the death of Superman and that piquing my interest. X-Men was huge, the cartoon, and it made me want to get into comics. I was old enough to be able to travel into the city by myself on the bus and check out Melbourne's comic book stores such as Minotaur and Classic Comics, and they were the two big ones I think I remember being in the city at the time, and eventually Comics R Us would pop up. But yeah, in the mid-90s, Minotaur in particular in Burke Street, multi-level store, it was a place to be, and I was discovering comics. And the death of Superman and the reign of the Supermen and Nightfall with Batman, they were my jams. Mulleted Superman, beautiful, like love him. And I've always been a Superman fan. I'm certainly, I don't profess to be the biggest Superman fan, Dirty Uncle Mitch from Geek Dudes, my good friend Julian James, way bigger Superman marks than I am. But, I have a general appreciation of a lot of things, and they're all pop culture entities that help form who I am and form who a lot of my friends are and formed bonds with my friends. So the idea of Superman or DC outside of Batman being successful in a cinematic universe has always been something I've wanted, and they haven't quite been able to achieve. I liked Man of Steel for what it was. Henry Cavill was a fantastic Superman. It seems like a really rad dude. But, for better or worse, the Snyderverse movies were what they were. I couldn't help but be left feeling a bit disappointed by them. I certainly saw them all. I've even seen the Snyder Cut, or the Schneider Cup, as my vocabularily challenged friend Sebastian Walker would say. They were what they were. They gave us a little bit of everything and a whole lot of nothing. Like we got pieces of what we wanted to see, and you could see that there was potential greatness. Even Wonder Woman, that first Wonder Woman movie, we're like, yeah, I think they've got this. And then Wonder Woman 84 was a disaster. Superman Returns in 2005 with Brendan Routh Ralph Mouth, as I like to call him. Um, Singer's boring love letter where James Marsden, or as I referred to him at the time, Cyclops, sort of felt like he stole the show. Um, from from that, that was a bit of a bland, boring movie. So James Gunn coming on board and taking on the DC reins felt like a lofty goal, but a refreshing change. And I was optimistic because I like what James Gunn does. I liked his Suicide Squad, love Peacemaker, love Guardians of the Galaxy. The Guardians of the Galaxy holiday special, a masterpiece. Love it. I'm a big Christmas fan. Love that. So I went into this hopeful. And what I did was, I have an 11-year-old son, Hunter. I took him on a journey. That a journey that I wish something my dad would have done with me. Where dad was into stuff, and would introduce me to things like Star Wars and Terminator and RoboCop and everything that we shouldn't watch when we were kids, but we did. But I never felt like I was on a journey with dad. And early I got Hunter and I matching Superman shirts. I got a Scholastic prequel book that's about 120, 130 pages. We both were racing each other to read it to sort of get familiar with the tone of this. And I was reading that book, and it was like, if the movie sort of matches the tone of what this book is, I think we could be in for some luck. And I went with Lockie Hendricks, uh, extremely talented professional wrestler that you might know from Renegades of Wrestling here in Melbourne, or my beloved Wrestle Rock. And he is a cinemaphile, loves comic book movies. Batman's his guy. I'm a Batman guy too. Like, I think if you're a bit older, like Mitch and Jules are a bit older than I am, the Reeves Superman movie was seminal in them, where Batman 89 probably delivered that for me, being I was born in 1979. So I was 10 when Batman 89 came out, the perfect age for it. And Hunter's 11. So, we read this book, we did it, we were excited. Lockie and I went to the Flash last year. I affectionately refer to Michael Keaton's Batman as Nuts. Well, Michael Keaton just gets called Nuts now. Like, he's just referred to as Nuts. So if you want the vernacular, Nuts equals Michael Keaton in the Freshiverse. And we went and saw the Flash and sort of were shell shocked and stunned, and we're like, ugh. We were already like, why did they do Ezra Miller? Like, why did they did so many missteps, and that movie was a mess, and it was so disappointing. And we walked out of there really disappointed. And we went in, and you couldn't help but be nervous, especially when you buy in. So I've taken Hunter on this journey. It's like, we're going to see Superman. What if it's bad? What if it doesn't hit? What if, James Gunn doesn't do it? He was so, like, he was the face of this movie more so than the stars. And, what if he misses? And it's like, well, it will be what it will be. So we went in, and I'm going to be very upfront straight away. I love this movie. I adored it, is the term I use. Like, I was so happy. And the thing that got me was Hunter next to me at the end declaring it his favorite movie of all time. Now at 11, we're all prone to hyperbole. But I genuinely felt Hunter felt a connection to this movie and had this incredible experience in the cinema, big screen, speakers rumbling. Saw it at Hoyt's in VMAX, not VMAX, they have Extreme Screen. Hoyt's Extreme Screen, we're reclined back, we're taking in this big experience. And Hunter felt what I felt. It was joy, it was excitement, it was thrill, it was hope, it was you looking up to a hero without cynicism. It was so much fun. And watching him react in the cinema, like Lockie's next to me, we're laughing at the jokes. It's funny. It it is what we needed from Superman. I will get more in depth and more in detail later. Um, I've got an idea of a round table of Mitch, Jonesy, Jules, Lockie, and I, where we're all going to get together and do it. And perhaps we will have seen it for a few times in a couple of weeks' time. And we'll sit around and we'll talk about Superman at a greater depth. But before I jump on a big jet plane, I wanted to sort of touch in with the refreshing thoughts audience and let you know what I thought. And you know, it, it doesn't let up. It's a 2 hour and 10 minute, I think, thrill ride. Like this movie drops you in and bang, it's off to the races. And the first thing that really stood out to me is David Cornsweet effortlessly is Superman. You don't doubt he's Superman. He looks like Superman. He presents himself as Superman. He carries himself like Superman. It, he was just effortlessly Superman. I don't doubt that man is Superman for a second. He is now my Superman. Um, and he's certainly Hunter Superman. I can tell you that much. And that's not to, you can have Superman before and there will be Superman after. I'm just saying the Superman that we have now is perfect. He is fantastic. And Lois, oh my goodness, like Lois, she was fantastic. I'm just Rachel Brosnahan, like she had that level of spunk that you want from Lois Lane. And I've heard some people go, oh, there wasn't enough Clark and Lois and stuff, but I loved their chemistry. And for me, one of the themes of this movie is what makes Superman human is the fact Clark and Superman are one and the same, and that duality is a part of Superman and a big part of it and stuff. But in this movie, they blend together, like the humanity of Superman is Clark and Superman has humanity, you know, the fact we didn't have to delve into the backstory, but we felt we know who Superman is and what made him was brilliantly done. You know, I'm a big Howard Stern fan. Love the Stern Show. Don't listen to it really anymore, but sort of from 2005 up until 2016 was early serious years. I was a everyday listener. And Richard Christie is a staff member of the show. He's a drummer for Iced Earth, and but a fun, lovable character from Kansas. And his parents, particularly his father, would leave him these voicemails of Richard, this is your dad, love you, bub. And they were a common thing that would play throughout the show. And I saw that Richard Christie, like James Gunn, had reached out going, can I have tapes of your parents leaving a voice message so the actors playing Superman's parents could have authentic Kansan accents? And it was incredible, like hearing it. They sounded like Richard's parents. And I thought that was so cool. Like Richard Christie is a notorious crier, and he was saying how he was going to cry in the cinema if he hears the second he hears his parents' voices. And I heard it, and I was like, oh, Richard, you're going to be bawling your eyes out. And speaking of, I'm not afraid to say I teared up a few times throughout the movie. I'm old and I'm emotional and get attached to things. And there were moments in this movie, it was just beautiful and you couldn't believe you were getting, and they hit the right emotional beats. And it just felt so good, Superman being challenged of who he is, the story of Superman's parents' message brings him comfort. And that's what, it was their message to him that they sent through with him from Krypton. That's why he does what he does for humanity, because it's what his biological parents wanted him to do. And Lex Luthor, this is going to be very cliff notes. I'm not getting in detail, but this is sort of like my reaction. Lex gets into the Fortress of Solitude is able to, through the engineer, decrypt the message and piece it back together and repair it. And their message to Clark is to conquer Earth and sort of take on many wives and breed and create superior beings and stuff, which causes a crisis of faith in Superman and makes humanity question him. And it was funny. Hunter, I had to tell him to shush because I'm trying to teach him cinema etiquette, not to talk. But he was, he saw humanity turn on Superman with this message, getting out there and being made public. And Hunter was like, one message, and they're gonna just turn on him like that. He was outraged, and that was like such a cool moment. It's like, shit, little buddy. But yeah, it was a cool element of the movie that pays off of Lex may have been born here, but birth does not make you human, or it's funny how many, no wonder certain sectors of humanity are getting outraged at the messaging of this movie, because perhaps where you're born doesn't make you of that place. It's how you act that makes you of that place. And that was the beautiful message of this movie. And Superman delivers a beautiful message to Lex at the end of the movie about that very concept. And there was I think the idea of being good is scoffed and challenged. And it's Superman who stands up for this, and not in a hokey way, in an earnest way that really comes across well. And I thought it was beautiful. Like the world's full of such cynicism and edge lords and everything like that, and to have a hero unashamedly be a hero was refreshing. No pun intended. And for me, it hit what I wanted to hit. Jimmy Olsen was amazing. The messaging with Jimmy Olsen is he's got a huge wang. Uh, because it's like, how does Jimmy pull these incredibly hot women? Like Miss Tessmacher, who was fantastic. Otis is fantastic. Perry White is fantastic. Like, we're only getting little pieces of some of these characters, but it makes you already feel like the world is formed and you're comfortable in it quickly. Like, I felt I orientated pretty quickly. I don't know if maybe the book assisted in that, but it feels like a lot of other people who didn't read the little prequel novel felt like they acclimated pretty easily. Um, it, One of the most amazing things was I don't have a lot of reference of Mr. Terrific. I'm not going to say I'm a deep dive comic book fan. I read comics, but a lot of my friends are far more knowledgeable on comic books than I am. I'm a jack of all trades, master of none when it comes to geek culture. And that's probably not true, but it's an overview. But the Mr. Terrific certainly is not a character I knew well, and he almost steals the show in this movie in a lot of ways, which is really hard to do because Nicholas Holt's Lex Luthor is incredible, and Corn Sweat Superman is incredible, and Lois is incredible, etc., etc. But Mr. Terrific, what a cool character, and the Justice Gang were perfect for their involvement. It wasn't like it didn't make the movie overstuffed. Their roles fit into the movie the way they needed to fit into the movie. Of their sort of like the cynical sort of superhero of today, not getting involved in this and quippy line here. But Mr. Terrific was badass, and he is the one that sort of sticks by Clark and gets involved in a rescue mission. And what was really cool is, Mr. Terrific's an African American. Edie Gaethje. I'm butchering his surname, and I apologize for that. He was just amazing, and we went to Big W, a store after the the movie, just looking at toys because it hypes you up, it gets you excited. And I saw a Superman cape, and I said to my son Hunter, I'm going to address barking in a minute. I said to my son Hunter, "Do you want to go as Halloween for Halloween? Do you want to go as Superman?" And he looked and he goes, "Nah, I want to go as Mister Terrific." And you know, I thought that was just the coolest thing ever. It actually gave me chills and a bit of wow, like, and it's like, well, we'll give him the T on the face and the costume, and he could be Mister Terrific this year. And you know, I just thought that was the coolest thing. Like Hunter was so impressed by how intelligent he was and how cool he carried himself. But that's who he wanted to be, not the super powered Mega Man that that Superman is. He wants to be Mr. Terrific, and that works things out using his smarts and stuff, because Hunter's a really clever boy. And I just thought that was, for him to identify with Mr. Terrific, I thought was really cool. Um, you know, I'm not going to go too long on this. I guess I just wanted to give you my excited reaction. The kaiju battle. I could have watched that kaiju battle forever. Like sitting up a little guy going, "Oh, he's going to get bigger," was incredible, and the use of crypto was amazing. Like when they were first announcing that crypto was going to be in the movie, I'm like, "Oh, really? We're going to do a super dog in the movie?" Like, I don't know about this, but could have they done it any better? Like, and just when the movie needed crypto to be crypto, he was crypto. And it's like John Wick, everybody can identify with "Don't mess with my dog," and Superman, you know, but at one point desperately, like, all he cares about is, where is crypto? I need to get to the dog. I'm worried about the dog and stuff. And it's like, it's beautiful, and I think that will help the mainstream sort of connect as well if they're going, "This guy is overpowered." Because my wife, she was like, Superman lame-o. Jesse's American. She's like, "Yeah, he's too much. Like Superman's a bootlicker," kind of. That's her feeling about the character of Superman. And I think I'm swaying her, and I'm hoping I can get her to go watch it within the next 24 to 48 hours, because I think she saw my hype and excitement. And look, the Rotten Tomato scores help. James Gunn helps. You know, all of it helps. But like with crypto, he's done so well. Metamorpho is done so well. And Hunter brought up, he goes, "How was Superman? Like, he kept that baby up there the whole time." Like, into seeing that the hero at all costs is protecting this baby, no matter what. Like, when your kid is on the internet, and we see what a scary place the internet is, and he's playing Fortnite or he's playing Roblox and stuff, and you know you're hoping that he's not going to grow up to be a little bro that is into the Tate brothers or idolizes Rogan, or like, that's not me. Like, I'd being a real dude, bro. But you don't know. And to have him be able to see something like Superman and go, "That's right. That's how we should be." You know, it's basic human decency, you know, and like, it's fine to, like, I never really got into The Boys, because it's like, to me, it's a little joyless. The real world, life is hard, and the real world's kind of dark. And I don't necessarily want that for my entertainment. There is a place for it. I certainly like, I can watch something like The Sopranos and see the artistry and the brilliance in it. I can watch heavy things, like, but does it have to be in everything? Like, do we have to be so jaded as a society that we can't just have an out and out hero? And I think, Captain America was great at doing that on the Marvel side of things. And Superman certainly has done that here. And to see Hunter take the right messaging from this gave me hope. You know, it's it's such a beautiful, fun, exciting movie. I can't wait to sit with my friends with microphones. Probably won't be videoed. I don't know how we can sort of get that happening, but it will definitely be in podcast form, maybe as a Geek Dudes episode. But for all of us to get together and just talk about our experiences, because after I saw it, Jules and I spoke for an hour on the phone, and I wished we recorded it because it was so much fun. You know, being able to talk to Lockie briefly, and we're trying to rush in all our thoughts before we separate. Like, that's the fun of this, isn't it? Like, that's I'm dying to hear your thoughts. Like, please comment, message me. I want to hear what you thought about this, and I hope you felt the way I felt about it. And if you didn't, that's cool. Not everybody's going to like the same stuff. But for me, we got a Superman movie we can be proud of. I joked I didn't have to zip up my jacket leaving the cinema. It, I'm a proud Superman fan. You know, I'm wearing the shirt again. Um, you know, 2 days in a row because I'm excited. You know, where is it? I'm gonna let this free from its packaging and its weird faces. I still think they should have just had him like that in the box. I'm gonna open this. I want him on my desk. I want him close to me. You know, the Ultraman reveal, and him having long hair. It was almost like I got a little bit of this in the movie, which hashtag mullet Superman is what I want, but you know, he's not going to stand him. I've made a terrible mistake. Um, these are the feelings that we want. It's given me even hope for Fantastic Four. Like, I want everything to be great. I've heard mixed reports about Jurassic World, and that's a bit of a bummer because I would love to hear Jurassic World was great and I go to the cinema when I get time. It certainly wasn't priority for me. Superman and Fantastic Four are priorities. The movies are expensive and, I'm time poor, particularly at the moment. But, you know, Superman did it. Yes, there's lots of stuff I haven't talked about, and that doesn't matter because we're going to talk about it. Like, I haven't heard Mitch's thoughts. Mitch, comic book Superman is his guy, and Captain Marvel, Shazam. But that you get the idea of what Mitch loves in a superhero, and I can't wait to hear his thoughts. I almost was going to say, "Dude, jump on a call," but it was a bit hard to coordinate, and I'm going to run out of time. But if you haven't seen Superman, give it a go. You will have fun. If you enjoy James Gunn movies, it's funny. Green Lantern, Guy Gardner is funny. Hawk Girl's awesome. Like, the Hall of Justice. It was just there and it looked perfect. Like, I loved this so much. Like, this is what movies should do to us. It's what it should make us feel. And I hope everybody feels like I felt about it because it was such a good time. Such a good time. I can't wait to see it again and it soak in. But if you haven't seen this movie and you're a cynic and you're a skeptic or you're going, I might wait for streaming or I might do that, get your popcorn, buy your ticket, even go on a tight ass Sunday or whatever they do now. Like, just go see it, experience it on the big screen because it is like, as a geek, this is what we want a movie to make us feel. It's what we want it to do. And Superman did it. And DC needed this because I enjoyed the Nolan movies. Who didn't? Like, they so inspiring and chill. I even love Dark Knight Rises. I I enjoyed the Batman, but they're heavy, they're dark. With this was bright, it was vibrant. Like, look at this, look at it, like it, and it was energizing, and that's what I want to feel. And maybe it helped having my beautiful 11-year-old boy sit next to me and feel his excitement, and it's like it transferred to me. And I wanted to be 11. And that experience of seeing heroes and you want to be them, and a villain that you want to see beaten. And even Hunter goes, he goes, I got really uncomfortable at times because, it made him tense. Lex killed a guy. Um, there's a lot, a lot happened, and just when you think Lex could be a bit cartoony or, this and that, he does real heinous stuff. Um, but it's got heart and it's funny and it's action packed and it doesn't stop, right? It boom, it it goes. And could it slow down and be a 2.5, 3 hour extravaganza? And I would have loved it. Yeah. Might have even loved it more. I don't know. But they didn't do that. They've made a movie for everybody. And I bitch that movies go too long all the time. So I'm not going to complain about this. They left me wanting more. But I tell you, when his cousin crashed in at the end and the way she was presented, and the droids, the robot, there's so much more I need to talk about with my friends, and I'm going to. But you're also, I'm talking with you. I wish you could talk back and we're bouncing off each other. Because I'm so excited about this. Like the way she was presented and the crypto reveal there, it was perfect. Perfect. You know, that's all I wanted. I wanted Superman to be good. And for me, Superman was great, and thank you to James Gunn. Thank you to the talented actors in the movie and everybody that put this together. It is so much fun. I can't wait to see it again. I can't wait to talk about it some more. Please click like, share, talk to me in the comments. What did you think of Superman? Did it do the same for you? Am I a little lame? Yeah, I'll answer that for you now. Spoiler alert, but I don't care. I unashamedly like what I like. Like if we can't draw joy, then what's the point of all of this? You know what I mean? So let's grab onto stuff and like it and enjoy it and love it if it's good and it makes us feel good. And damn it, Superman made me feel amazing. Um, thank you for tuning in. Follow me at Refreshing Thoughts Pod on Instagram. I'm on Facebook. If you can support the show, we do have the Patreon where for $5 Australian a month, it helps me pay for StreamYard and Transistor FM. We will talk about this again on Geek Dudes in a couple of weeks' time. Thank you very much for checking out Refreshing Thoughts. I appreciate you. I appreciate Superman. The world's good. I love it when a plan comes together. And I'll speak to you in a little while.